situations, right? Where we could go to a restaurant, or we could go to a party, or we could go to a, and how we deal with what's going on around us and how we stay strong in our recovery as well. Yes, ma'am.
So today we're going to be talking about, my name's Heidi and I'm the emotional overeater, the binger, the purger. This is our session for, and I'm a drug addict, and this is our Sunday session for unaddiction. We are going to be discussing on what it looks like going out, but I also thought maybe we should just check in to see how the last week went for everybody, because it's been a really busy week. We had a workshop yesterday, and just to give people peace of mind as well, I just wanted to go through a couple of things. We live stream on Facebook and on YouTube. We have people joining us on the rooms from via Zoom. We have people sitting in the rooms. It is a great time now, especially if you're on Facebook, jump onto Zoom. You can get into the conversation. This way we can hear your questions, because we might not be able to answer your questions online. All the instructions are pinned to the top of our page. Share our broadcast so you can invite others who are struggling with addiction.
Okay then. And I'm a drug addict, alcoholic, anorexic, since we're saying who we are. And so we'll do a quick check-in if that's what we'd like to do this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yesterday was really heavy duty. So we have a workshop, you guys, and we have people that take classes or attend our workshop on Saturday mornings. And it's very, very intensive step work. And we get a whole lot of work done, right? We do some crying and we do some sharing and some laughing, but mostly it gives us a chance to look inside of ourselves, see who we are, see what it is that we want to work on changing so that we don't have to stay in active addiction. So yesterday was a little difficult, yes, for everybody, I think. Allie, how are you feeling this morning?
I'm good.
You feeling okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that we got a lot out of the session yesterday, and we had some, really tough answers to some really tough questions yesterday. And we talked about our imperfections, which they call in the big book character defects. And we looked at what it was inside of us, that our feelings and our thoughts that we want to change, so that we could change our behaviors, so that we don't have to pick up. Good morning. How are you this morning?
Are you looking at me?
Yes, I'm looking at you, girl.
I'm good.
You're good?
Tired, but good.
Yeah, and so you had a lot to say yesterday.
Yep.
And I'm going to let you know, you guys, people share, and they share from their heart, and then it allows us to feel so much closer to you, everybody in the community, right? It allows us to connect better. You know, we have these conversations about, hi, how are you, great, how's it good, blah, 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 without saying anything, right? We have conversations with people often without saying anything, or especially not talking about how we feel, appropriate or not appropriate. And so thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
Andrew, I'm going to get back to you because we're going to ask you to read your letter
Okay.
after. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you. Girls, you want to check in, Jess?
They said they could barely hear us.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, sweetness.
In the
Can
chat.
you hear me okay? You guys are a little choppy.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good. Things are going well here. I enjoyed the work yesterday and was able to take what I learned and talk with my sponsor, and things are going well.
Oh, good. So you did speak to your sponsor.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we're...
And we talked, and I think she understood where I was coming from, and I know that I can't change, people can't make me feel any certain way, so it was
Right.
good.
Good, and so good girl. So we talked about that yesterday. So you were having some feelings when you spoke with your sponsor, and and that's okay. Remember, especially in the beginning, when you speak to your sponsor, sometimes you're going to be scared, right? You're going to be saying things that you don't feel that comfortable with, and if you don't get the exact response that you need at that time, then it makes it even more scarier, right? And it goes back to, she's not going to think I'm good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm so stupid, she's not going to want to work with me, I'm angry with her, she's angry. All of that stuff that we play through in our head that has to do actually with our addiction and what keeps us in active addiction. I know you called me last night. I was in the movies and then I was out. So thank you for reaching out to me, and I'll call you later. So thank you. But I'm proud of you for speaking with her, because had it been 3 months ago, I don't know if you would have called your sponsor and said, hey, this happened and I'm feeling like this. Right?
Yeah, I would have avoided it and not talked to her again.
Right. Good girl. So that's you growing up in recovery. So kudos to you for that.
Thank
Good morning, Karen.
Good morning.
What's up, girl?
Please.
I'm good, thank you.
I'm doing so good that I'm scared.
Fair enough.
It's like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Okay. Okay. What you're talking about, by the way, what you're talking about is, now remember, and I don't think that this is just addicts, but I think people in general. So you're saying I'm doing great and I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. What's happening there is, instead of living in today, I'm living in tomorrow. So I'm living in what if, and the only thing that happens is I miss the movie. So the things that we're in control of, our own perspective and our own actions, tomorrow you're still in control of your own thoughts, and you're still in control of your own actions. You're not in control of mine or anybody around yours, but you are in control of yours. So as long as you remember that your thoughts and your actions will still be yours, and the universe is going to turn the way that it does, and that you'll deal with it when and if you need to, and that worrying about it will change absolutely nothing, except it'll change your happiness for today.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you. I need that reminder. You're absolutely correct, and I need that reminder.
Yeah, and you're super insightful, so you say stuff like that everybody thinks, and that I don't think to say it. So thank you so much for saying that, because I can tell you everybody goes through that, right? Where, oh my God, today is so great, and then it can't be this great tomorrow. I'm like, don't do that, man.
So as an addict, for me, when I start doing that, when I start worrying about the future, I've got a thinking disease. So I'll try to create chaos and any reason to pick up, because that was, I'm the emotional eater. So I'll look for those reasons, and projecting into the future over stuff I can't control becomes the perfect excuse for me, if my recovery is weak and not strong, for me to be able to pick up.
And you know, sometimes, hey, it's even when we're stronger in our recovery, right?
Right, sure.
You know, sometimes even when we're feeling confident, if we get stuck in that chaos and that I'm scared, you know, fear, remember, all of our negative emotions are fear-based. So once we're walking around in fear, then all of those other negative emotions are gonna come into play as well. So just get out of that playground, man, and enjoy your beautiful day.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and thank you for reaching out and for sharing that. That was awesome. Sarah, good morning.
Hi, good morning from New York. How are you?
I'm good. How are you this morning?
I am abstinent as of waking up today.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Dealing with grief. Reached out to my therapist. Haven't heard back from her yet.
Okay, then reach out to her again.
What I'm thinking is trigger foods. You know what I'm thinking? This is what's so tricky. Food is supposed to be nourishing, but also enjoyable. We're not going to eat something that we hate.
Okay.
And I find sometimes there could be certain foods are a fine line. I'm going to enjoy it, but then I'm going to start obsessing about wanting
Okay.
to take.
So stop right there. So as soon as the word obsess comes into the sentence, you're done with that food. End of discussion. There's nothing to discuss about that. If I'm doing something that I'm obsessing about, remember, it's not just food, it's our behavior as well. So if I'm obsessing about something, it ain't good for me. End of discussion. And we'll go into that. Very good thing to bring up. We'll go into that more later. But that's the end of that discussion. If it becomes an obsession, it's part of your addiction, you got to abstain from it.
And also for me, when I start talking about foods that I won't enjoy or go down that road, that for me becomes part of, it becomes that diet way of thinking and that serial dieting, and that's not recovery. That is back in the food issue, which is still dealing with the food and obsessing about it. I eat delicious meals every single day. Every meal's delicious. I just make different choices. So it's a total shift in thinking.
Got it?
I hope so, yes.
Okay, all right, and
It
that
takes
that
time.
takes some time. Thank you for sharing. Dee, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, I've been doing well. I just started this realization, and I found myself a group that I'm going to go to on Tuesday, recovery group.
What kind of recovery group?
Pardon me?
Which type of recovery group?
It's food addicts.
Okay, perfect.
That's what you and I heard you mention that?
Any of the 12-step program's awesome.
Yes,
Good.
and I logged on and I got the food plan and I actually started the food plan, which is very doable, and it's none of my trigger foods. Well, I saw some of my trigger foods on there, but I'm not going to have them.
Okay, good.
So I'm looking forward to that, and I've also been acutely aware more than ever before about the feelings that I'm having right before I want to have a trigger food. What's triggering my
Good.
urge to want to have the food.
Very
and I've
good.
been announcing, since I don't have a sponsor, although my family are my friends too, I've been just announcing to my family about, I'm an addict. I can't have the nuts. Last night I wanted the nuts, and my son was like, "No, you're not having the nuts." So he was like my sponsor, and twice this weekend he helped me get out of, for some reason I listened to, he helped me not cave in, because I felt like caving in, and I knew exactly what I was doing.
Okay, good. Good. And so you're talking
to do.
good. So you're talking about the immediate challenge with food, which you need to get through so that you can step into recovery. Your sponsor, it's the responsibility, the sponsor-sponsee relationship isn't about telling you to just say no, because that you're going to do on your own, because you're going to need to, but about learning about recovery and the spiritual principles behind the steps, and learning how to be a woman who's stepping into recovery. So the abstinence part, whoever's helping you with that, that's great. And then your sponsor will teach you recovery.
Right. Well, I have to just get to the first meeting, and then
Absolutely.
it will. But this, so I'm in a good place, because I
Awesome.
really haven't. I've been able to, just the awareness is good, and I have said no for like 3 days.
Good. All right, that's awesome. I'm really glad that you're here today, and I'm really proud of you. So keep up the good work and stay connected to the community.
So Dee, you got 3 days clean, sweetie.
Pardon me?
You've got 3 days
3 days
clean.
and
Well done.
Yes, and I have I got the app, so I look at it every day, and it helps me. The not Weight Watchers, the AA app, the 12-step that shows you on the screen how many days.
Yeah, we got that too. I use mine, so
That
yeah,
helps
sure,
me.
sure it does. Yeah, so
So does the screw.
there are a lot of clean time apps. So you put in your clean time date, you just put clean time app, and you can use any one of those. It's kind of fun, right? As a reminder, look, I have a pretty picture on mine and a quote and all that good stuff.
Yes, it
Yeah.
helps.
And
Yeah.
also on downsizing weight loss, if you start sharing it, it also helps reinforcing it in your own mind. So downsizing.
I've been sharing
she
my
has.
gratitude.
Yes, you have.
I have been. I just
Yeah.
it's been a little busy with everybody here.
Okay.
For Thanksgiving, but I've been doing it, and I plan on writing my letter. Goodbye. to
Perfect.
Frank, and,
Perfect. Okay.
It's all helping.
Good. Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just I mentioned downsizing weight loss. It's our private group on Facebook that we get to share our thoughts, our feelings, our gratitude list, everything. It's on Facebook, members only. It's a private space for us to be able to communicate.
Ange, do you have time right now? I need to share your letter, or you want us to give you some time?
No, I can do it now.
I'm going to ask you, baby, to please read slowly so
Okay.
that everybody can hear you. Thank you. So we wrote goodbye letters to our drug of choice, and we're going to have Angeli read hers. Hers is a lot of amazing letters we got, you guys, and those letters help everybody else's. And I'm going to ask Ange to read hers because it was magnificent. So,
Okay.
and loud, baby.
Okay. Dear food, my drug of choice, I'm writing you this letter in hopes of making some peace with my past and also to remember where I came from. That's the crazy thing about this disease called addiction. I get a millisecond of clarity and forget the death grip you had on me. I forget the sleepless nights, the wasted days, the most prestigious years of my academic career, everything that at the time made me feel like nothing because I was drowning in you. I was that straight-A kid that had and thankfully still has everything going for me, but man did I try to shit it away countless times because I felt worthless, useless, and not good enough for anyone or anything. You took some of the best years of my childhood and early adult life, but more importantly, I'm able to decipher the fact that I let you do that. I wanted to be skinny more than I wanted anything, because truthfully, I probably had everything else a kid my age could want, as well as the brightest future anyone could ever imagine. I was willing to take supplements by the bottle, literally starve myself, and grind my body into the ground for 4 hours every single day for years just to get ahead. I'd be lying if I said it didn't work at first. However, there's that proverbial law of diminishing returns, and at some point, my mind, my body, my soul, my spirit couldn't take the self-induced abuse anymore, and I went over the edge. I thought I had problems, but the worst was yet to come. Being the perfectionist I was, it didn't go well for me when my attempts to lose weight failed. This made me literally crazy and sick, and this is when I began binging and hating myself and thinking about wanting to die. I have an unhealthy relationship with you, to say the least, but that's not how this kid's story has to end. At the end of the day, I'm a kid in recovery who's growing into an awesome young woman. I don't need to use you anymore to comfort me, to mask my emotions, or to be my friend when I'm bored or struggling. I won't forget you, because truth be told, you served your purpose in my life, and for that I'm forever grateful, because you helped me survive up until 8 months ago. But you see, things are different now. I'm a strong, confident, independent thinking woman in recovery who's doing everything she can to thrive in this one body, one mind, one life she's been given.
Thank you so, so much. And so, Ange, it's, you know, what you wrote is so powerful. And what we hear besides, so you talk about the addiction, and the addiction part actually that you talk about isn't as much as the feeling part that you spoke about. And that's why I think that the letter is so important, because we hear a lot of despair there, and a lot of that willingness to give up. And then we hear that willingness to survive, right? So you let your drug of choice go. You did a whole bunch of step work. Angelise, you got 8 months clean?
I think a little over 8 months.
A little over 8 months
Yeah.
clean. On her sponsor, she's done step work 4 times. So to just say, I'm going to stop using and think that you got recovery, that don't work, man. You're lying to yourself if that's what you think. So abstinence is what we do at the beginning. And then after that abstinence, we need to step into some kind of recovery program and change our thinking, right? So that we could change our behavior. Remember, you guys, changing our behavior doesn't change our thinking. Changing our thinking will change our behavior. So putting down the food is, I'm not going to call it the first step, because the first step is honesty. But putting down the food is something that we have to do, so we clean out the dopamine receptors so that we're clear enough to be honest with ourselves. You talk about wanting to kill yourself. You know, when you talk about that, that's the place that every addict will eventually get to, and we spoke about this before. The thought of living our life in addiction is so horrible, but the thought of living our life without that addiction is so scary that sometimes it seems worse. And I see, Jess, that you're shaking your head, right? It's like, okay, now I'm clean, now I'm having a bad day, now what do I do? What am I going to do now when I'm sad, or I'm scared, or I'm fearful, or I'm resentful, and I don't have that drug of choice to pick up? How is it that I deal? And how you learn to do that is to step into some type of recovery program, right? And to learn that feelings aren't facts, that our feelings are just feelings. And that we can learn to rethink, to change our thinking, which will help us to understand why we're having those feelings, to change those feelings, and then to change the behavior. Because remember, you guys, the food is just the behavior at the end of that feeling and at the end of that thought. So if we're not having the feelings, or we can deal with the feelings, or we learn how to change the perspective, which is changing that thought, then we don't have to pick up, no matter what that drug of choice is.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing. I mean,
Amazing.
it was so courageous, firstly, and so honest, and just really touched me in a really profound way. And it also reinforces that thought in my mind of, it's not a question of willpower. We really have a disease. It's not something we choose. Addiction isn't something we choose and wake up and go, one day I want to be an addict. Because if it was, then we'd have the choice of willpower being able to work. And for us, it's really stepping into that disease and stepping into recovery, which is the only antidote, really. It's
Correct.
the only way that we really can overcome this, there's no pill that's going to fix our food addiction.
Excuse me, I thought there were pills that were going to fix my pill addiction, but that didn't work
And
either.
I thought there was a surgery that could fix
Your
my
food
food
addiction,
addiction.
right, that didn't
So
work either.
it cut down how much I could eat, but it really didn't cut down how I felt. And the big thing really is the minute I was so trained to be in that diet way of thinking that it was up to me and I was bad and I was wrong and I couldn't do it and I was weak and all these things, and that the answer was dieting. And it really wasn't. It was really how I was feeling and dealing with the world around me that became the bigger issue, and not the food that I was picking up to try and change the way that I was feeling. Because for me, the food became the way of changing my feelings. It was my go-to drug.
Yeah, and that's the end stage. And we talk about this probably at least once a week, about how Haiti had lost a bazillion pounds. And I came in to talk to you one day and you were crying. And I was like, what's up? Like, okay, everybody should know, oh my God, you look so great. You look so beautiful. You look so great. You know, how do you feel? You're feeling different. And you were still sick and stuck and scared. You were just skinny. So now you're a skinny addict with nowhere to go and nothing to lose. You guys, we also talked about how 30% of people that have bariatric surgery will immediately become alcoholics because we're addicts. So we're going to switch. If this don't change, this don't change, right? If we're not changing our thinking and we can't do the behavior, it's like for me, okay, I'm a drug addict, alcoholic, anorexic. If I can't get my drug of choice, if I can't get opiates, I could drink. I could starve myself. I could do those things. So post-bariatric surgery, maybe you can't eat the way that you want to, but you could pick up any other drug, right?
Do you know what drives me crazy is I belong to a lot of these bariatric surgery sites, and people are either going into surgery or just come out of surgery and going, can I still have bread? Okay, can I still keep drinking? And people are going, my doctor said in moderation is fine. And my thing is, it is not a behavioral modification, because if
Right.
it was, my first diet would have worked and I would never ever ever had to diet again. And I've done every single diet under the sun and spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on different kind of extreme weight loss products. So it really isn't the behavior modification. Unless we change what brought us in the beginning, nothing is going to change.
And you know, it's so silly, but it's easier to look at it from a drug addict's point of view. So that's like me being in treatment for 6 months, which I was. And then before I leave, they said, you know what, Felice, you could do Percocet every day. You just have to cut down from 400 milligrams to 100 milligrams. I'd be like, yay, right? That don't work, you guys. Don't work. So abstinence is abstinence is abstinence. Whatever's touching that neurotransmitter in our brain, whatever our drug of choice is, we need to abstain from that so that we're not triggering. That part triggers the physical craving and the mental obsession that we have. Once it actually triggers the physical craving, and that physical craving triggers the mental obsession, and we're off to the races. Yes, ma'am.
Can I say something about what Haiti said earlier?
I hope so.
Okay. When you were saying about recovery being the most important thing, I really, obviously I relate to that, but I think it's important for me to say that, you know, before I met you, Felice, and started working on recovery, I wasn't doing nothing. I'd been in therapy for 5 years. I had done about close to 10 self-help books, like hundreds of pages. I had done a lot of stuff and I was still feeling like that. So for me, that missing piece was the recovery, and I think that's really important for people to know, because in my case, the reason I felt like this is because I felt like I was doing everything possible, and if I'm doing everything I can do and I'm still going to be like this, it's just not worth it.
You know, thank you so much, Ange. And so you were in therapy,
Yeah.
right? And you were working on all of the stuff that you needed to work on. And I know your therapist. She's an amazing therapist.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah, I send my patients to her. The thing that's different about recovery, I think that is recovery is very raw, and it's really challenge solution oriented. And it's also, when we talk about the principle behind that first step, you guys, is honesty. And it's not just me presenting like I'm being honest with you, but it's actually me being honest with me so that I can get honest with you. And people talk about different steps, and yesterday we did our step where we looked at our imperfections or our character defects. And a lot of people say in the rooms when they get it, we have a workbook, so we have an obesity recovery workbook that I wrote. Actually, it's awesome. That we use in our workshop. And if it's always in any kind of step work, the other steps are impossible to do if you can't get honest with you. And you getting honest with you guys sometimes is just showing up and being in the room.
I
Yes,
was going to
ma'am.
say something. For the first year, I did steps. I thought I was in recovery. I was writing beautiful stories,
I have to
and I
say
wasn't
that.
honest, and I relapsed.
Yeah.
And I only really realized what recovery was after that almost 1 year. And I was 3 hours away from my 1 year, celebrating my 1 year clean. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't really in recovery. So honesty really is so key.
Yeah, and I knew you early in recovery, and we did some work together, and there was a lot of stuff that you were holding back, and we hold back because we're scared, right? We're scared. We don't want people to see us the way that we are, because if you knew who I was, you wouldn't like me. You wouldn't care about me. You wouldn't love me. Plays into all that BS that we learned, the feelings that we learned, or the way that we learned to look at the world as we were growing up, that we're kind of stuck with as adults until we learn to understand that, first of all, you guys, none of us are unique. Addicts are addicts are addicts. So I know that I'm a pill head and that you're an emotional overeater. Don't make me any better or worse than you are, nor does it make any of us better or worse than somebody who's under a bridge shooting up. Because, you know, reality is 9 years ago, had I not almost accidentally been put into a treatment center, I would have been homeless. So there you go, me. So there you go. So we're all the same. Our addiction will always take us to the same place. With drugs and alcohol, a little bit easier to see because we usually get there more quickly, as opposed to somebody who has to be a food addict her whole entire life, Haiti, so that she could be in the hospital with her colon breaking and her almost dying in the hospital. And that being put, you know, in your face that way, as opposed to you falling down drunk. Same thing, guys.
Right, so the route is exactly the same way. Some way we end up killing ourselves. I mean, addiction, the road to addiction really is hospitals, institutions. We don't have the jails as the drug. I could with my drug addiction, but we have that death as the ultimate endpoint. And it's not only that, it's the way that we suffer to that point.
That's most.
How much we put on our families while we're there, and we're grossly obese and we can't do the things and we can't be that independent, and we need other people's help to be able to do basic stuff. Getting out of bed is so painful, and it's so difficult walking that we can't catch our breath, and there's so many other things that come with being grossly obese, which I was. So I really do know what that looks like when your knees and your back and your hips and everything is aching, when bending down to tie your shoes is incredibly difficult. And then you've got all the side effects that start leading into the diabetes and the blood pressure and all the other stuff that comes with it. So it really becomes a life that you ultimately start getting to the point where you're either bedridden or very immobile, and you're stuck in a place that is so lonely and dark. And a lot of this is avoidable just by starting to step into the rooms and working on recovery. Obesity is something that can be cured.
Absolutely. And you know, when you talk about Ange, I'm going to call on you, but we talk about, for me especially, but waking up every morning and demoralizing myself and not even understanding in my brain that I had a choice. Waking up every single morning and saying, today, I promise everybody, I've already promised everybody that today I'm not going to use. I'm not going to pick up. I'm going to go through the day, and I could do it today and then I could do it tomorrow. And picking up and having that feeling of despair and uselessness and worthlessness and feeling so guilty and waking up the next morning so ashamed and not knowing what to do and demoralizing myself again the next morning. And that just, you know, the more we demoralize ourselves, the more horrible we feel about ourselves, the more less than, the more scared we are, the more worthless we feel, the more we're apt to practice the same behavior again. It's really horrible. Like, when you think about it, addiction sucks, you guys. Addiction sucks.
That's not.
Yeah. Recovery's hard, but addiction sucks. And the recovery part of it always looks a whole lot prettier, no matter how hard it is, than we feel in active addiction. Ange?
I was gonna speak to what Haiti said. I don't know if it's relevant or not, but hopefully it is. I think, like, when we think of addiction, well, when I think of addiction previous to being in recovery, I kind of think of, like, alcoholism or drug addiction as a designer addiction, so to speak. Mine's like the less invasive, whatever, like it's not that bad, or that's what I would tell myself as a kid addict, to get by. It's, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do something that nobody can. My parents will still love me. I just overeat. My friends will still be my friends. People might say I'm fat, but it's not going to change the way I interact with others. And through working on recovery, I see that it doesn't matter because the feelings, everything is the same. It's just how I choose to act out, so to speak. Yeah, how to use. So I just wanted to say that because I thought of that when Haiti was talking. And
Right, and so we say, I'm gonna let you talk. We say it ain't about the food, you guys. It's not about the food, and it's not about my oxycodone, and it's not about the alcohol or the sex or the gambling. It ain't about that. That's the end result of what we're doing. That's the action that we're taking at the end. Before that action comes our feelings and our thoughts.
So I love that you said that because I've always had this thing that as a food addict, when people slip or they pick up, it's a cutie thing, and it's not that serious. And I've come to realize why. If I see someone taking a drink at 9 o'clock in the morning, I know that there's a bit of an issue. When I see someone sitting down and eating breakfast, wait.
You
listen.
could wait till 9 o'clock in the morning to have a drink. I couldn't.
No, listen. So I'd wake up with a joint in my hand. Before I got out of bed,
That's what I'm
I would be
saying.
smoking a joint. Okay, so I'm just saying socially, there's like certain things that I find more socially acceptable. And I'm not talking from me as an addict, because for me it's totally unacceptable in my head.
yeah.
But socially, it's more acceptable to sit down, eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and binge in between, and do all those things. And people are less apt to say something, especially if you're skinny and you're an anorexic who's dying and purging afterwards, or binging and purging. But if you are the alcoholic or the drug addict, people are definitely going to be saying something a lot quicker when your disease is out of control.
Yeah.
And also the emotions that we in ourselves carry as food addicts. I was so sensitive about my weight and anyone saying anything about it, and this fat issue and being overweight. For years I was told I was big boned. So for all the years, no, it's true. I was big boned, okay? And then I just wore bigger and bigger clothes so I could actually hide it.
Big bones.
Very big bones. Because I was up and I was down. So the thing is, the way I was taught to cope with it wasn't that as an issue, but that it is something that is very cute. You know, it's something the diet starts on Monday. And that is so detrimental for us in terms of addicts and addiction, because food addiction is just as serious. And when we walk into the rooms, and I know it took me a long time to talk at a meeting, I'd walk into meetings and I would not say a word for 8 months. I wouldn't say a word at a meeting because I thought these people were far sicker and worse off than me. I was a food addict, and the thing that brought me into the rooms was looking good. I was all about my ego and having to look good. That's why there are no photographs of me really fat. So I think just as a food addict to myself, I'm extremely judgmental, and I think everyone else's addiction is far worse than mine.
And so I love that you said, you know, when you talk about, and I'm going to start on Monday or whatever, and we say that every time I picked up on a lie. Your first lie was that I'm going to go in the rooms and I'm going to learn how to stay skinny and look skinny, right? Not that I need any type of recovery or anything like that. That I can start a diet, quote unquote diet, on Monday, and then feel a little bit better about myself right now, you know, on Saturday. So do we have anything to add, girls? Hi, good morning. I'm Felice.
Hi, Felice.
My pleasure.
Nice to
Thank you
meet
for
you.
coming here.
Thank
Oh,
you.
great accent. How are you feeling this morning?
The accent's terrible, but
No, it's adorable. Actually, we love it.
I'm happy to be here because I've been watching you and Heidi for weeks on my iPad in Israel.
Very cool.
So I'm South African but live in Israel, and it's just nice to be here in person. I don't want to get into it too much today,
Yeah,
It's my first
perfect.
instinct.
Perfect. Yeah.
but I'm just happy to be here in person and to meet you and in person. And yeah, I just think I've got to get onto that road to recovery.
Right, and what we hope, thinking-wise, is that even when we change our vernacular, when we change our words, that recovery will be something that you choose, not that you have to.
Yes.
Right, because as soon as we have to, you guys, we're going to come from a place of lack, And then it's like, I can't do this and I can't do this and I have to do this, and as opposed to this is what I choose to do,
Yeah.
so that I can live more happy, joyous, and free.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so thank you so much. So stepping into the room is a big deal,
Yes.
and it's pretty scary for most of us. And so if you're like most of us, then it's kind of sucky
Yeah.
in the beginning.
Yeah.
But it does get easier and it gets better, and recovery is amazing. So thank
Good.
you so much for joining us. I appreciate that. Thank you. Got anything to share, Al?
Last night I was at this event, and at the event that I went to last night, I was having a great time. There were speakers, I was socializing, blah, 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 blah. However, there came a certain point where I was like, I need to go home because I need to eat.
Okay.
And I was like, well, here's what I'm gonna make. And I wanted to make like a blueberry like thing.
Question.
And
I need to go home because I need to eat,
yeah.
or I need to go home because it's time for me to eat. I'm not sure what you mean. Like, I
Well-
need to eat, like I'm in addict mode and I gotta, stick something in my mouth, or I need to eat because I haven't eaten dinner yet.
I hadn't eaten dinner, but they had like little sandwiches that I took the bread out and just
Okay.
had like the turkey.
Okay.
And then I'd eaten that and I was like, oh, I'm fine. But then I thought about, but I still want more food.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, I could leave early and go get it.
Okay.
I did not do that, but it was just kind of like, I feel like food is constantly like I'm constantly thinking about leaving situations and this event was supposed to help me like not eat at night and like do something else besides like putting food in my mouth.
I understand.
But then I still wanted to leave in the middle of it and then just go home and sit by myself and have something to eat.
Awesome. And so you're so friggin' honest all the time, and of course I call you out all the time, so I'm gonna call you out right now.
Absolutely.
So yesterday, during workshop, we talked about, because you have a sponsor,
Yeah.
right? You just got a sponsor, and we talked about how even though you had a sponsor, that you hadn't been reaching out. You're supposed to call your sponsor every day, and that you hadn't been doing that. Your gratitude list you do every day or no?
Yeah, I've been doing
Okay,
it.
good. And so we talk about willingness and what steps will we take to get better. Did you reach out to your sponsor last night?
Yeah, I did.
Awesome.
In that moment, I did. It wasn't specifically about the situation, but it was about me reflecting on how I kind of wanted to be better. And
Why wasn't it about the situation? Did you reach
I
out?
think I thought it was too like trivial.
Okay, so stop thinking.
I know.
Because your thinking is what keeps you right here.
Yeah.
So stop thinking. I feel like shit right now, I want to use. End of discussion. Sponsor, I feel like shit I want to use. I'm letting you know. Talk about how you're feeling in that moment. When you know what you do? You turn it around so you can write something beautiful about whatever, and it's all, and so you're friggin' smart. Congratulations, you're brilliant. Okay, you're brilliant. We'll give that to you. But you're a brilliant addict who's suffering.
Yeah.
You have a sponsor for a reason. Not so she could see how brilliant you are, because we've known you for a while. We all know how smart you are. But so that you can relate when you're having a hard time. How many times do you think this girl has said to me, I want Oreo? We were away. Oh my God, we're away at a conference, and every hour she's like, I want Oreos. I want Oreos were the thing. Friggin' 50 times. She's like, I want Oreos. And, of course, my response to her is like, great.
I want Percocet.
Right, exactly. Pick up some Percocet on the way and we'll party, So,
Right.
but if you tell on yourself, it actually, I'm not kidding, it takes half of it away.
Yeah.
It really does. Haiti, have you reached out to friends
Actually,
recently and
I
said
did
you wanted
last
to
night.
use?
I said I
Yes,
want
she
to
did.
use. I absolutely
Yeah,
did.
she texted me last night.
I said I'm not going to, but I just need you to know that I really, really want to. So this actually just reminds me of something. It was I was at a meeting yesterday and we were talking about meditation and being able to be comfortable in ourselves. And the one thing that I really have never been is comfortable in my own skin. And put me in a room full of people, and the first thing I want to do is either arrive in an altered state or alter the state of how I'm feeling while I'm there, which is either through eating or smoking or drinking. I mean, those are my three go-tos, so I can be busy without interacting. And part of that has got to do with my uncomfortability in myself. So yes, it's the part of what reaching out that we want to use, so it takes our mind off it, and we can say, I want to, but I don't really want to. Help is like our SOS. But then there's that other side of being able to check in with ourselves with what is making me so uncomfortable, where am I at, that's pushing me to want to pick up, because there's always something behind the reason of why we want to pick up, and everyone's different. For me, I'm uncomfortable in public. I'm great one-to-one, but I'm terrible in big groups. That's a skill I've got to work on. That's something I need to work on me.
And I can promise you that if you just put it out there, shit, you know what, right now I want to pick up, whatever, put it out there, immediately, I'm telling you, that urge is going to be cut in half. Remember, we know that wanting to use is a feeling, right? Yeah. I want to, if something's going on, I want to change a feeling. I feel like using, and we know that feelings aren't facts, so we know that just because we want to use doesn't mean we have to use, and that it's a choice that we're going to make. If I reach out, and I still do it all the time, you know, like I don't know what's going on and I'm having a perfect day and my brain is telling me that I want to use. So even when I see it written down, I could say, okay, this is what I'm feeling. It doesn't mean that it is what I need to be doing. And then for me, I look at what it looks like at the end of that picking up.
I love it when you say feelings are not facts.
But it's the truth. That's a fact.
So if you feel like smacking me or beating me with a bat,
I just feel like it. And sometimes I do feel like it. But I still don't pick up the bat and beat her up, because then I have to go to jail. And then if I think that through, there ain't no way that I'm living on bread and bologna. I mean, it's just not happening for me. So for that reason alone, I'm not going to prison. So you see, it's not so much about me feeling, you know, like beating you up. But then what does it look like after I beat you up? Right?
You know, one of the reasons I stepped into recovery was I reached a point that I was doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, I gained and lost over 600 pounds. That is a lot of weight to be putting on this body. And I always knew it would have the same ending or the same results. I'd be binging, I'd be purging, I'd be feeling like crap in the morning. So it was the same cycle. So eventually there reaches the stage, how long do I want to keep beating my head against the wall, knowing that I'm going to have a sore head? Because I know what it looks like at the end of the day, or do I want to try something different?
And also, you know, and we talk, and I love that you talk about part of that end result as you being sick and not being able to tie your shoes and not being able to lean down. I'm going to tell you with Angeli, the other day, you were laying on my bed and you're like, oh my God, like I could put my feet over here, or whatever she said. It was so funny and so cute. And that's part of the big plus, right? But also in active addiction, that feeling of despair that we have, you know, that feeling of hopelessness and uselessness, yeah, and fear and resentfulness and hating ourselves. Man, it sucks. It sucked for me to hate myself, and feeling more and more and more despair. And, you know, the further down that you go, the more despair that you have. And that despair feeds your addiction, and that addiction feeds your despair. And at some point, when we're looking at ourselves, you know, at some point we keep that addiction, because now we could look at our addiction as the problem instead of looking at ourselves as the problem, because we're the problem, man. What we're picking up ain't the problem. And so once we're so stuck in using, that's all that's important as well. If I would just stop using, if I would just stop drinking, I'd get better, right? But that ain't it, because I'm gonna stop drinking and still have the same thinking problem that I had before I picked up the alcohol.
So I just wanted to share something with everyone. We do live stream on Facebook for a reason. We created this community out of despair and loneliness, knowing what it feels like to have been there and to be able to have a community where people can reach out and we can actually help each other get better, because recovery from addiction is heart to heart. So one of the things that I really am asking is if everyone wouldn't mind being of service, if you are enjoying this, just to give us a thumbs up or to share this with your friends. Because I promise you, when I looked at my circle of friends when I was in active addiction, all of us were addicts. We were feeding each other's addiction. A friend brought me into the rooms. She's changed my life. I'm learning how to live with joy. And I am healthy. So please just share this around. That's how we get it. That's how we are of service to others.
Yeah, and you guys, you never know who's out there who is sick and suffering. Right? And so sometimes we just do a little bit of a share, or just, you know, we're always so afraid to let everybody know how we're feeling and where we're coming from. And sometimes it's us letting somebody else know how we're feeling and where we're coming from that allows them to be honest. You know, I practice medicine. Almost every single one of every doctor that I work with obviously knows I'm in recovery, but so do 97% of my patients. And I can't tell you how much that allows others to reach out to me to say, wow, you know, I mean, if, I say all the cool kids are in recovery. So if you reaching out might help change one person's life. You know, so do it. Get out of your own head and be of service to somebody else. Because those couple of words that you say that day might just change their perspective and their attitude and allow them to ask for some help because they know that you've asked for some help.
In the last 2 days, the stories and the shares that I've got from people around me, Angeli and you, Ali, and like you, Ash, and like everyone around me, they touch me, they create this empathy in me that helps me deal with my addiction because I can relate to them, because it touches me on a heart level that I can go, do you know what, I'm not alone. Someone else is in this with me and they've been there and they understand and they're not judgmental, because as an addict, I'm really fragile in certain ways. I think I'm the worst judge of myself. I hold myself to the highest standards that I'd never hold anyone else to. So I carry a lot of shame and guilt with things that I've done that I would never put on anyone else. But by people sharing, and I can turn around and go, I felt like that, or I've done that, makes such a difference in my world, personally speaking.
Yeah, it really does. And it also allows us to humble ourselves, you guys. You know, I ain't the best person in the room, and I ain't the worst person in the room, and it's always going to be like that. So there are people that have gone through more than I have suffered more than I have. There are people, fortunately, who've suffered less. But all of that teaches me humility and allows me to realize that I don't have terminal uniqueness, right? That I am not the only person that's gone through this. That if you only understood how I felt, you would, you know, all of that self-righteous bullshit that my life has been so difficult. Have I gone through some difficulties? Yeah, I have. You know, have I had some amazing, fantastic things that have been presented to me? Yeah, I have. And humility is a big part of our recovery, right? And humility is what allows us to reach out to somebody else who's sick and suffering.
And also that sense of uselessness. When I was really stuck in my addiction, I was stuck on not being able to do things. I was so demoralized that I had no energy to really do things, or I'd try to do so much in one day that I was exhausted at the end of the day, because not only was I juggling my addiction and trying to feed that, but all the chaos that was created in my world around it, between being a mother and a businesswoman and a friend and a wife and a sister and a child and all these other things that we live with in our lives, all of a sudden became really overwhelming that at times I'd become immobilized. I'd be so stuck that I wouldn't get through anything in a day, but I'd be so busy that nothing was actually done.
Yeah. And with that and with all of that juggling comes a thousand different types of fear, right? I'm not going to do this well enough. I didn't do this well enough. They think this of me. This one thinks that of me. I think this of me. What's going to happen? What if I only, what if, in that the chaos that we live in when we're in active addiction is emotionally exhausting all the time. All of that thinking that we have to do, thinking. That's got nothing to do with life, by the way, you guys. Just has to do with what's going on in here.
So 2 things Dr. Felice gave me to do that really worked, that was simple, even when I was stuck in my addiction, was my gratitude list, to be able to post 3 things that I was grateful for every single day, and to be of service. And being of service could be as simple as opening up the door for someone, assisting them in any little way, sharing this with a friend. Anyway, there's a million ways to be of service.
Sending a hug to another addict, thinking about you, hope you're having a great day. Get out of your head, man. How are you guys doing up there? You guys have any questions or anything you want to add? Girls?
They've been having a bit of a sound check.
Karen's quiet. Can you guys hear us?
Oh, there's a delay. I think.
Yeah. Ali's got a question.
Okay, yes.
Yes, we can hear, and it's much better.
Thank you.
You're absolutely correct. Everything you're saying resonates.
Okay. Anything you want to add, Karen?
You know, I haven't shared this meeting or the recorded meetings with my family, and I'm really thinking about doing that. That's very scary for me to
I have to tell you, the scariest thing for me, and honestly, is talking in public. Public speaking for me has been one of my biggest fears my whole life. Stepping into this room and coming from a place in a society that was extremely judgmental. I mean, South Africans are extremely judgmental for millions of reasons. Was one of the scariest things I ever did. But the amount of people that once I started doing it, not only helped me with my own addiction and my own recovery, but it also touched other people that started coming up and going, do you know what, I've got the same problem. I'm so pleased that you did it.
Yeah, and Karen, when you talk about being honest with your family, you know, we fear judgment from the people that we're the closest to, because their judgment actually means the most to us. So if your mom or your cousin or your aunt or your kids are judging you, it feels worse because we have a personal relationship with them. I believe what will happen with people who actually really love you and care about you is it will allow them to see you for who you are and empathize with you and love you more because they're going to feel closer to you, as opposed to you keeping them at this distance. You know, it feels better to hide our addiction because we're hiding the part of us that has told us all along that we're less than. Or the feelings behind the addiction, which is that we're less than and we're unlovable. And yeah, so reaching out to your family, that's going to be super hard. Sharing a meeting probably will make it easier so that you don't have to sit down in the beginning and have the conversation, but they could watch a meeting and then you can have a conversation. And you'll probably find that it opens up the hearts and the minds of others accidentally, although that's not your intention. Your intention is to be honest. But you see that you might touch somebody in a way that something might have been said that somebody else needs to hear that will free them up a little bit, that might actually help them to feel better. And then you're being of service. But yeah, the scared that you are, you earned that, man. Mm-hmm. That scared you earned. Yeah. So it's a pretty scary place to be. So I commend you for... Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And I commend you for thinking about it and for being so brave as to even play there. So thank you for sharing that.
Ellie had a question.
Ellie?
I was thinking...
Speak up, baby.
I was thinking about compulsive behavior.
Okay.
And is it that any food is addicting? Like, can you say that if, you know, I crave a salad with, like, or lettuce and chicken, can that, even though it doesn't like touch those dopamine receptors, can it be addicting for an individual?
So what's the process behind it? Why are we thinking about it? Talk to me better so I understand better how you're feeling.
Because I'm trying to figure out what are the foods that make me compulsive, even though like they're healthy foods.
Okay. So remember, now we're talking about the food. So there's certain foods that we know that we just can't eat, right? Rice, bread, potato, pasta, sweets, no matter what color they look that they are. The starches and the sweets, we know that's dopamine receptor.
Yeah.
Can we binge on anything? Yeah, Ange used to binge on friggin' cabbage. So yes, we can binge on anything. Remember, once we stop doing the stuff, eating the stuff that we know is touching the dopamine receptor, we're allowing our brain to clean up. When we're talking about obsessive thoughts, we're talking about recovery. At that point, it's not about the food. So it's like me saying, well, if I obsess about tequila, but I'm not obsessing about beer, doesn't matter. Now we're talking about obsessive thinking. And so recovery allows us to stop that obsessive thinking, which will stop the obsessive behavior. Is that going to happen overnight? Frig no, man. Doesn't happen overnight. So give yourself a little bit of a break, okay? And I've been giving you a really hard time, and thank you for taking it, because I have been giving you a hard time the last couple of weeks, because I really want to see you succeed, and you know that that's what's in my heart.
I do.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about recovery. And actually, that's a really good topic, obsessive behavior. If somebody can remind this old person
on
that,
Wednesday.
that's what we'll be talking about. So you guys, if you have any questions about obsessive behavior, Can you put them on downsizing, weight loss, or why wait for recovery so that I can answer your questions at our next meeting?
So we've only got a few minutes left, so I just wanted to start wrapping up as well. We have a Wednesday night meeting from 9 to 10. That meeting time may be changing, so just keep watching Downsizing Weight Loss and also on our page on Why Wait for Recovery. So we can update you. And if you link in through Zoom, we'll be able to email you the changes as well. We meet Wednesdays and Sundays, Sunday from 9 to 10 a.m. We live stream on Facebook and on YouTube. We also invite everyone to do the gratitude list and share them with us. It helps get out of our head of self and it takes us into a bigger world. It's a tiny change that makes us see not every day is a great day, but there's something good that happens every single day, and it does help with the shift. We share three things we share grateful for and our strength for the day. Also, we invite you to do your farewell letters and share them on Downsizing Weight Loss as well. And invite your friends. Bring a friend. A friend brought me into recovery, and
Yes, I did.
it was the greatest gift I ever
And you
got.
could just read it, baby. Come.
Okay.
And we're going to read the promises from the Big Book of AA. I don't have them in front of me, but Angela has them on the phone, and she's very young, and it's very small. So she's going to read it today. I'm going to read the fourth line, which is my favorite line. So you could start, and when I point to you, just let me do my one favorite line. Go.
If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it.
We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace.
No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize
That the universe is doing for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We don't think so. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, but they will always materialize if you work for them. I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. My name is Felice.
And to all our friends around the world who tune in and from all around the states, my name is Heidi, and I'm so grateful for all of you.
Thank you guys so much.
And have a beautiful week, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Step into the rooms on Zoom.
Peace out, you
Peace
guys.
out, everyone. Bye.